My name is Corporal Bradley Joseph Seitz.
30 seconds.
8 Weber.
Counting.
These are real veterans facing a real challenge.
Yes, 6 people coming over your house. Good for you guys.
And I have PTSD.
I have PTSD.
I just really hope.
Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen
That happened on
anyone,
Leo's first
I was
birthday.
still in a
anyway.
war zone in my mind.
but treatment can turn your life around. Treatment
Well,
has
let me tell
really
you
saved my
something. John
life.
Stravinsky's got your back.
To learn about PTSD and how treatment can help you, call your local VA medical center or
That is
visit
a friend.
ptsd.va.gov.
WTV 860 AM Philadelphia and WPEN HD2 Burlington, Philadelphia.
That is a good friend right there. Like unsolicited.
WWDB Philadelphia, the talk station.
Good afternoon, Greater Philadelphia area. This is Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And today we have the post-Fed meeting wrap-up and the market reaction to Jerome Powell's comments. We got some more news on the NAR changes now going into effect on August 17th. And Warren Buffett came out after he had that monster settlement with Berkshire Hathaway and backed real estate agents. And we have, I'm excited about this guest, Sarah.
Yeah.
Johnny's Pizza in Bryn Mawr. The owner of Johnny's Pizza is coming over. He hand checks all the pies. He'll be here at the last segment. We're going to talk about this, one of the best places to get a bite. Cheesesteaks are phenomenal. That'll be on in the last segment. So if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to hit subscribe to the channel, hit on the bell for notifications, and make sure if you want to talk about your real estate needs, you can schedule a call with Sarah in the comments. So we've got the Fed meeting here, Sarah. I'm sure you watched all the comments. You read all the notes here, right?
Most.
This is one of the more drier things. And I'm a big believer. I can't watch those press conferences because it's just, I like scanning afterwards and seeing what they actually said. So,
right.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said it was unlikely that the next central bank's move will be a rate hike or a rate cut. Now, this was important because I think some people thought a rate hike might be on the table because inflation has been a little persistent here, a little stubborn, if you will. And he also said the pending election isn't part of our thinking and it's not what we're hired to do. What do you think about these comments here? What do you think happens now with rates? Because obviously, like, we feel the effect almost immediately, and then we had a jobs report that came out and some other stuff right afterwards. But what do you think this means for rates long term with this steady Eddie approach from the Fed here?
I mean, I think that this steady approach is better. Like all of like the jumping and the dropping, I think creates a lot of uncertainty. I think it also goes to show that you really can't fully predict what is going to happen next because I think there were, earlier in the year, there were a lot of predictions about rates coming down. I think that they still will, but I don't think it's going to be some quick drop. And I'm not surprised that they're not like going to do anything with it at the upcoming meeting. I think that makes sense.
Well, and what's happened here is like inflation has not gone down like they thought, and we're seeing that the market actually reacted favorably once we got the jobs report because unemployment came in 0.1% higher than projected, which is not good news. But the Fed looks at it as good news. But I mean, it's still 3.9%. It's very low, and what happened was interesting because the mortgage rates kind of rallied and they came in just below 7% locally for the ideal scenario at the end of last week, and I think that's good news for buyers in some ways that like you're getting a little bit of relief there, but it's not much. What were you seeing this weekend out in the field? I know you were very busy. Do you think that had an effect at all, or was that just people being in the right place at the right time with properties?
Honestly, I think it was more right place, right time. And in some cases, people that had written offers when the rates were still, when they were higher. Obviously, it's exciting if they're a little bit lower, but motivation, I think, is always kind of key here. I do agree that like the slight drop is a great scenario because you feel great about seeing it come down, but it's not like it was so significant that change forced a bunch of buyers back into the market.
I agree. I don't think it had a major impact. And what we're seeing with projections, you talked about rates possibly coming down. So Business Insider talked about this, and I like to look at the most recent projections because after these Fed meetings, everything kind of overreacts. I mean, we heard these folks earlier in the year saying it's the year of the five. I would love to have some of what they're having, whatever that is, because I'm just not seeing it. I thought we might hit maybe 5.9 at the end of the year. But what's happening right now is that their year-end mortgage predictions are expected to fall between 6.4 and 6.5%, and this is based on a couple people. So the Mortgage Bankers Association, they're predicting 6.4% by the end of the year. Fannie Mae 6.4, NAR 6.5. Q3 we're seeing a range of 6.6 to 6.7, which is not that far away, by the way. We're very close. And Q2, this is kind of like cheating because we're in the middle of it right now. They posted 6.7 to 7.1 as the projection. So I see something here that's valuable for consumers, and I'd love to get your take on this. It's more stability. Last year was so I've never seen mortgage rates so volatile before, where they were constantly going up and down and up and down. Do you see the stability helping home buyers so far this year? Because they're not dealing we had half-point swings sometimes in a week.
Right. No, I absolutely think the stability is helpful, even if it's at a higher number than some of the low swings that it went down to. I think it creates a little bit more certainty in what you're doing. It's already an environment when you're submitting these offers and you're competing and you're trying to strengthen your terms as best you can, so maybe giving extra in other places, adding another element of kind of unknown and okay, if the rates stay exactly where they are right now, I can write this offer and I can offer this price and I can cover this transfer tax and I can cover the appraisal and I can yada yada. But if there's a big swing, let's say it takes a couple days for the agent or for the seller to make a decision, and then I'm not actually able to lock in my rate for another 5 days. When it is these massive swings, that could work in your favor, or that could kind of push you out, or put you into an uncomfortable place where you feel like you maybe stretched it too far.
Well, and it gives stability, right? Because no buyers always go to their max. It never goes any other way.
Right. You've
bought a home recently. I bought a home the past couple years, and you don't want to have to move again. That's right. And I think that's actually good advice for agents is if you can stretch a little bit to get a home you can stay in a few years longer. That's a way better move than buying something knowing you're going to have to move again, because you got transaction costs and you have the hassle of moving, which is not something that's fun to go through. So when you see these predictions, I think it's going to be later in the second half of the year, and you see what the Fed's thinking about doing, and whether the Fed has the election in mind or not, consumers do, the market does, and you're not going to see any policy stuff that comes out. Recently the federal government, they just came out with a housing task force. I don't know if you saw this. It was a bipartisan housing task force. I'll tell you a little bit about it. I don't know what good it's going to do. Because it's coming out of Washington, but it's not going to do anything. I think until you see who gets elected, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, everyone's going to be just pausing right now. Right. And this is going to be a very hotly contested election. So when it comes to the stagflation, Jerome Powell said that the GDP report the previous week showed slowing overall growth but solid price increases, and it was stagflation. And he said he didn't understand where that was coming from, because he pointed out by some measures economic growth is at 3% and inflation is below 3%. But it seems like we're kind of just stuck here right now, and they're just in pause mode. What was your reaction from some of the comments here? And all kidding aside, I know you did all your prep work here. It's just so what do you see the Fed doing moving forward?
I think the Fed is going to move slow and steady through the remainder of the year. I don't see them wanting to rock the boat too much. I think who knows where the different numbers are going to come in at. But I think if they're able to not, cut or raise, that would probably be the route they would be most likely to go with. And maybe at some point, if it makes sense to do a cut, that could happen. But I do not see, earlier in the year, I feel like there could be 6 rate cuts.
That's what a lot of people said.
And maybe we get 2.
I could see 2 happening. you know, and it's not going to be till like I'm talking like Q4,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't see anything like that changing because we're seeing this. Inflation's been a little pesky, and they have this 2% target that they're really cued in on, and until we get there, I don't know that they're going to move too much, and that seems to be like their marching orders. Now, with unemployment coming up, I think that was again not a good thing in general, but the Fed wanted to see that.
Yep.
And so I see them kind of staying the course here and letting this play out. Now, what he also did say is that we're not targeting housing price inflation. That was one of the quotes from the press conference. And Powell stated that the housing industry was helped more than any other industry at the start of the pandemic due to lowering of rates. He noted that the opposite will hold true when rates rise and the housing market is impacted negatively. And the more enduring issues are centered around limited housing inventory. And he just says there's not enough housing that has been built, but that's obviously not a solution. So it seems like it's on their mind. I was kind of surprised he said that our job is not housing inflation. That was a little surprising to me because that seems to be one of the biggest complaints is affordability.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and I think that where he did kind of hit the nail on the head is just inventory being a major issue.
Now, it's not a major issue everywhere, though. And we covered this the other day where you look at where we are year to date. Housing is up a little over 30% in terms of active listings for the month of April. In Pennsylvania, we're up 6.7%. So it doesn't mean we have enough housing. I want to be like very clear.
Right.
Like, I mean, you're feeling that. I mean, you're still dealing with multiple offers, and I mean, you just had a client who made a really aggressive offer because they lost out on two others, right? I mean, that's a very common scenario. So with that in mind, we're seeing housing grow. It's the highest it's ever been in April from 2020 on.
Okay.
So we're not at those pre-pandemic levels yet.
Right.
Florida has seen like massive growth, like 65%. The Sun Belt is seeing it, which tells me inventory is coming. We're always the last to get it in the Northeast.
Okay.
So imagine if there was like double the housing supply on the market. What would that do for consumers right now? Like you're in the field, you're dealing with this. What would the mindset be for some of the people you're working with? What do you think the reaction would be?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would kind of hit in two places. One, just having more options and maybe not feeling like they need to give up different things because there's limited places that fit what they're looking for, depending on how tight of a search it is. Then, every time that there are multiple offers and one person, only one buyer is going to get the house, that leaves a pool of other motivated individuals that just wrote an offer, maybe very competitive, maybe not, but like wrote an offer. So there is definitely a level of motivation there. So having a spillover for like where they can go next and having more options, it may reduce the number of offers on any individual property because people may be offering, on the others. And it gives other options because after, if there's a client that submits an offer, doesn't get the home, and is upset, being able to offer next steps and more options and, hey, this is what else is out there. Let's learn from the last one and apply that towards the next is key to be able to keep them positive and moving forward, and ultimately get a home.
Well, and I think that's, you look at the positives and the negatives here. So I don't see prices going down even if inventory does rise. And we're going to have to see a lot of inventory come to the market. So there's this question of, do I wait for the inventory or do I wait for, prices to settle down? You can't time this stuff.
No.
And with the Fed taking this wait and see approach, I would be very mindful of, hey, these rates aren't coming down either. And anyone that we practice this all the time. They're like, Sarah, I'm going to wait for rates to come down. The response should be, how certain are you they are going to come down?
Right.
Because if you get a quarter of a point, but prices go up 2-3%, you might be losing out. And so I think that's what people really need to be mindful of is that these rates aren't coming down, and you're going to see some stability here. So if you really want to move, it's really going to be based on like your situation more than anything else.
Right. And I think absolutely, like, how certain are you that they're going to come down? To what point would they need to come down for this to make sense for you? But at the flip side of that, if you're able to secure the property now with like, you know, if it falls within your budget, you're able to do the down payment, you're able to afford the monthly payment as it is. When if rates do significantly drop, you did not make a bad move. You now have the home and the option to refinance. Not that that's like a free thing to do or like, you know, woohoo, now I refi, but you have that option versus if you're waiting for those rates to come down, more likely than not, it's going to make the competition go up, and ultimately you're going to be paying the same monthly fee because you had to pay more to secure the home.
Well, and then there's also opportunities, right? Because what happens is when you're in these competitive situations, then you have to start waiving terms, and that gets not all the time. You don't always have to, but some people do that to get the house. That's an option that's out there, and you don't get to really like investigate the place, and you don't maybe you have to do things you're not comfortable with. So there is value to be buying when there's not a lot of people buying, and I think this bump in inventory we're seeing now, it's an opportunity for some folks. I mean, you had a client secure a home after losing out on 2. That's a win. She got the house. You're making offers on places that have been on the market a little bit. Like they got some challenges with them. So there's all good stuff there. Here's another comment from Jerome Powell. So this was a question from Nancy Marshall Genser from Marketplace. She wanted to ask a little bit more about housing. I'm wondering, how closely are you watching rent and housing prices as you evaluate whether and when to cut rates? And it seems like housing prices are not coming down as quickly as you expected. I'll give you the response, then you can react here, Sarah. So here's what Jerome Powell said. When we think about our statutory goals are maximum employment and price stability, and that's what we're targeting. We're not targeting housing price inflation, the cost of housing, or any of those things. Those are very important things for people's lives, but they're not, they're not the things we're targeting. We are also well aware that when we cut rates at the beginning for the pandemic, the housing industry was helped more than any other industry. When we raise rates, housing industry can be hurt. On top of that, we have longer run problems with the availability of housing. We have a built-up set of cities, and people are moving further and further out, so there hasn't been enough housing built. And these are not things that we have any tools to address. But when it comes into play very specifically in our work is inflation, which is a combination, it's rental inflation. You take the owner's equivalent rent, blah, blah. I'm not going to get in all the things here, but basically what they said was there's a difference between like market rate rent and actual rent, because people, when they have a tenant in there, they kind of like let the tenant renew at the current rate instead of raising the rate. So the inflation on that is a bit lagged, and it's a problem. So then she followed up and said, what is your response to the letter that was sent to you by the members of Congress asking Fed to lower rates to make housing more affordable? My response is what I started with, which is that the job Congress has given us is price stability and maximum employment. Basically, no. What do you think about this? I mean, this sounds to me like someone that they're not doing anything about housing. This isn't even on their radar right now. It seems like they're focused on like their other data they're looking at.
I would agree. I think that it would also be, it's a complicated thing to kind of step into and try and like quote unquote fix as well. It's, I don't think that there is one thing that you can kind of go in and do. I don't think that just cutting the rates, as the commenter suggested, would solve any of these problems. That is true that like with rental rates, it probably is lagged, because if you have a good tenant that is going to continue to renew and you know that they pay on time and they are not an issue, like having that certainty, even if you're renewing them at if you could have gotten more, if you like brought in new tenants, I think that sometimes that the cost difference there is worth not getting in order to retain good tenants. So that does make a lot of sense that some of that data would be a little bit lagged.
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge the Fed has. Now, he does have a good point. I think that the local restrictions are a big problem here when it comes to building more housing. Because there was new construction being built. It would make things a lot easier. And like townhomes, right? Like when was the last time you saw some new construction townhomes that were built?
It's been a while.
And if they are, they're usually very far west, right? Like they're either west or north or somewhere in these more rural locations.
Right.
Than places like right outside the city where we're sitting right now. So
or some of them that I've had that did come up were 55 plus or different things that aren't going to work for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that you're starting to see some policymakers talk about this. So Governor Josh Shapiro, he wanted to spend $80 million to attack Pennsylvania's housing crisis. So, in his budget proposal, he's putting it towards funding public legal defense against evictions and anti-homelessness, and restarting a popular home repair grant. There's also pending legislation. This is the important stuff here for what we're talking about, that would preempt local zoning policies to spur housing construction. And they're not a sure thing, but they're making an effort because some people are saying Pennsylvania's 100,000 homes short.
Okay.
Imagine it was 100,000 homes that came to the mall. We get a lot of them here in the Philadelphia area, so even 50,000 would be tremendous. And it looks like they're pushing some of the local municipalities and townships and cities to loosen up their zoning code, because especially like out where we are in Chester County or parts of, there's these open space acts, like they're very limited what you can do. So you have the bipartisan housing committee that was also formed. So if you see more of that coming out of our legislature, I think that could actually solve a problem, but it's not going to be overnight. This is going to take a while.
Right. And then, I mean, it's hard too, because like you do want to have open spaces as well. You don't want
I agree,
everything
yeah.
to be fair ground for building. What do they mean? What was the eviction part that he was talking about there?
So let me read this here. It was legal defense against eviction, so it would be like funding public defense, so like a public defender that would deal with that. Which evictions, you don't want to go through an eviction, no matter what happens to you. It's not fun. It's just not a good thing.
Yeah.
So the bipartisan housing task force, and we'll kind of end with this. So this was just announced, and let me get the wire, the article here up. That it's 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. So right away, that's a win. That's what it's starting with. That it's not people that are, like it's not one thing that's driving this here. So this was announced the end of March, and they're going to talk about like ADUs, lot sizes, zoning rules, putting a path forward. I mean, this has got to start somewhere. My concern is these politicians move so slow. Like, when is this actually going to happen?
Right.
It's a good step. That's one of the challenges.
Start it now rather than later, since it's going to take a while for anything to happen.
Well, the problem is, if it's coming out of Washington, this is so local of an issue. Because I mean, from having my dad's new construction background, like there's some townships like builders don't like building in because they're very difficult. There's others that are a little easier, and that's one of the challenges here. So don't expect rates to come down. Let's hope some of these local initiatives start to loosen things up. And I mean, I think what we're seeing now is that this is the market that we're going to be in. We're seeing inventory grow. So there's some reasons to get out there, and that's all the more reason to talk to a professional like Sarah or someone from our team. So if you want to schedule a call to do that, just tap on the link in the comments. We'll be right back here. We're going to talk about what's going on with NAR and Warren Buffett making some noise about this commission lawsuit here. We'll be back on Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Great rates on your money? Look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no cost.
I'll just read like we can talk about the touring room.
Visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com
I did read
or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with a personalized local service.
I'm guessing it's legal for some states if they're putting it out there.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX
If
you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30+ sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at program.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real real estate career. And remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet.
30 seconds.
State's #1 lender. We specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income?
10 seconds.
Since you're not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom.
Stand by.
My car is such a mess. I was like mortified.
Welcome back to Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole, she's Sarah Tymon, and we both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. We've got the new Zillow touring agreement, NAR changes starting 8/17, Warren Buffett backing real estate agents, and the owner of Johnny's Pizza in Bryn Mawr is scheduled to come in for our final segment. Must go-to spot if you're looking for pizza or cheesesteaks, especially if you're on the main line. It's right on Lancaster Avenue. And if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to hit subscribe on the channel, click on the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team about your real estate needs, do so with the link in the comments. So, a lot of settlement news this week, Sarah. So first and foremost, they finally got the official date. All the changes are going into place. It's 8/17. I like a little extra time. Gives us some time to test all this stuff. That was just a guess. They were estimating it. One good thing NAR did is they estimated earlier than what actually that might have happened. The court approved everything. So that's not huge news. I think it's just the date you need to be aware of. In response to this, and we'll get to Warren Buffett here in a second, Zillow launched a touring agreement. And this shocked people a little bit. How did you find out about this touring agreement?
From the article.
Okay. So our Zillow rep also told us she found out from the article. So it's funny how corporate America works. And as a partner, I found out from the article. I mean, we're all partners with Zillow. So the touring agreement, it's a one-page agreement. It lasts for 7 days. There's no compensation involved, obviously, because we don't get paid to show houses.
Right.
Can you imagine if you got paid to show houses, Sarah? The point is, though, it's solely, I think it's to take some of the friction away from, you got to sign something to go look at this house.
Right.
And the NAR settlement says you need an agreement, not a buyer agency agreement, but other states are going to have other things to say. From our legal counsel, Pennsylvania does require a buyer agency agreement with this, and you're probably not going to get any guidance from them. That's a legal opinion, that's not mine. From an actual attorney. I just like to preface that so they don't think I'm giving legal advice here.
Right.
The big thing with this touring agreement, and this is going to get sent to people, what I like about it for agents is that Section 2 says, buyer represents the buyer has not signed an exclusive buyer brokerage agreement for the location currently in force with another broker.
Right.
As someone that has worked with Zillow, closed Zillow leads, positive or negative, is that a benefit for you? Tell me about that specifically, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely. Now, could an individual just sign this when they've actually signed it with other agents as well that overlap? Always possible, because people do that with buyer agency contracts.
They do, yes.
And either don't realize what they did or don't care. So,
yes.
But I think it does lay down from step one for, although this is not like a buyer agency agreement, like for the next 7 days, you will be working with me. And, obviously if it gets to, we're going to submit an offer, at that point, I'm assuming an actual buyer agency needs to be signed, not just a touring agreement. But it kind of sets the stage from step one with, you don't work with multiple people. I hope you work with me, but if you choose to go, I should be aware of it, and it should be you shouldn't be juggling multiple agents at once. So I do like that. One thing, not specifically related to this, I know there are many clients out there that do talk to different agents, which that is okay. Having, it's good to have a little bit of competition. It makes you continue to provide the best service. But if you do have people where they wouldn't overlap a property with agents, but I've had cases where it's like whichever agent sends me the property is who I would,
Yes.
you know, work with and go see it. And if I like it, I would put in an offer. So I guess in those cases, like, so this would not work for them. It would, I guess, just have to be every time like a buyer, like a property specific buyer agency.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be an option for people.
Yeah.
And, you know, my view is that, and again, this is from our legal team, when you're dealing with this in Pennsylvania, you're going to have some options.
Mm-hmm.
You can sign a timed contract. You can sign a specific, I'm only for homes I show you and bring you through contract.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can sign a property specific contract for one or two homes. And I think that's probably going to be the better move here for a lot of people. You know, Zillow, I get what they're doing. I think they're making a statement here. They're trying to take the friction out of this here. I see it as a lift because I think it's gonna eliminate that, and it's gonna eliminate the people that maybe aren't that serious. Because there's a lot of folks that are like, oh, I'll go take a look at a home.
Yeah.
This will be fun. I'll check it out. You know, and agents who maybe struggle with conversion or vetting that stuff out, I think there's going to be a huge opportunity here for them.
Right.
So I do like that, but again, you got to listen to your state laws. That's going to be the most important thing. So. Yeah. With that in mind, Warren Buffett came out. So they Berkshire Hathaway, they ponied up. Its Home Services is the parent company. They had a $250 million settlement, the highest one out of all the companies, $250 million. And he met with shareholders on Saturday, and he addressed business and personal reflections. And there was questions about the rationale behind selling Apple stock, the loss on Paramount. All these things, praise for Jerome Powell in managing the economy, questionable comment there, but we'll let that go. But specifically, Warren Buffett and Greg Abel spoke about the real estate industry settlements and the role of agents. So Sean Cawley, a agent with Home Services and a shareholder who's been at the meeting for 15 years straight, asked Warren Buffett thoughts on the settlement. And before he turned the mic over to his planned successor, which is Greg Abel, Buffett joked that I don't buy homes often. Some people have noticed, but I certainly would consider it. But I'd say the probability of that happening is low. And then here's what Greg Abel said. There's a few questions in there. One question there's no question the industry will go through some transitions. Ours and every other major player in the industry settled. The NAR settled for more than $400 million. So effectively, everybody was swept up in that settlement, and it set the grounds for both Home Services and for the industry to move forward. Excuse me. There's a lot of changes that happen and are being proposed associated with the settlement. But one thing I think you'll hopefully would agree with, the real estate agent is still an important part of these transactions. It's the one time in our lives where we make the massive investments, and having the counseling guidance is critical. And that's really what our business and those other businesses rely on. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a massive investment that people make, often the largest one that they will make at any given time. And there are a lot of ways that you can be helped throughout it. And there are a lot of things that you can do to protect yourself. And there are a lot of things that you can do to lose money or lose a position to, like, because if you're not doing this every day, you don't know all the different options. You don't know what, different risks are. You don't know how these different scenarios can play out.
Mm-hmm.
And having somebody to walk you through that, obviously get an agent that you trust, that you feel that you can work with. I'm not saying every agent is going to be able to provide you with all of that, but get the right agent. And if you do need to interview multiple agents to find that, it's worth the time to do it and to have the representation, because there's a ton of ways in which this can go right, and there's a ton of ways in which it can go wrong if you are just kind of operating blind.
Well said. And I think we've even seen that where people have these like bad experiences with other people. So they went on and talked more, and I think the importance here is that the willingness to go ahead and back a $250 million settlement shows you that this is not some empty statement from Greg Abel. They're saying, hey, we think agents are critical. They put their money where their mouth is and kept the company going, because he easily could have said, you know what, let's close down the company. They got a $900 billion market cap. I mean, this is not quite 900, a little under 900. Point is, it's a lot of billions. He goes on to say how the commission structures change and how it's negotiated, which is really what the settlement was. It was no longer that a buyer would automatically pay a commission agent to the selling agent. I don't know, the statement doesn't make sense. A commission to the selling agent, that's now has been negotiated. That'll impact things, but I think that realtors will continue to be a very important part of that. And the only thing I would share with their shareholders on a broader basis is that the obligation resides with Home Services and can be met by Home Services, their company, and that was an important condition because they're going to have to, obviously, they're banking on this company being successful. So then Warren Buffett said, real estate's fundamental, and he went on to give a story about, that he's tried a for sale by owner before, and he knows what the average agent makes and how long they work on things that sometimes don't materialize. I don't think we'll end up with a better system. It's up to Greg and the people in Home Services as we work through here. I like our agency group. We've got a very large number of real estate agents, and I've encouraged the expansion we've done in real estate brokerage services. And no, it was not just one or two operations when we bought Berkshire Hathaway Energy, but we really built up quite a company, etc. So I think this is a ringing endorsement for real estate.
Absolutely.
So how do you, I mean, this settlement's been rocky. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while. So when you see Warren Buffett, like obviously people pay attention when he talks. Is that getting your attention here? Like tell me more about how you feel about your career, what you're doing on a daily basis, Sarah, because this got me excited for once. And he owns a competing company.
Right. Well, one, I absolutely like what he said here and that he was sticking up for agents. I like that he said it in a way that's very easy to understand, because I feel like in some of the different comments and some of the different things, it's so like, I don't even know what word I'm looking for right now, but just like over the top, where you have to like sit there and really think through like, so what did they just say?
Yeah.
So I like that he just used like clear, plain language to show support for agents and touched on there are other ways to it. There was for sale by owner. There still is for sale by owner. That's very common.
Viable option for some people.
There are so many different options and ways to maneuver through this that I guess my advice for agents would just be prepared to adjust some things and, but the day-to-day of your business, I don't think will be that different, there'll be some different pieces that need to be managed. So kind of be ready for that, but it's still going out and overall doing the same job.
I couldn't agree with you more. And, I think the thing people forget about is that I've met with sellers and they're like, hey, what about the commission lawsuit? What do you think? I'm going to do whatever it takes to sell my house. So it's really up to the agent to deliver value. And this is more of an indictment on the industry where mediocrity has been tolerated. Think about any number of transactions where you willed it to close because of hard work and got zero help from the other side.
Sure.
Think about all the clients that I've been looking for houses forever and I just don't, it's not the right person for me. And when you have a higher standard and you really believe in serving people like Warren Buffett's talking about, I'm clear there's always going to be a place for you in the market no matter what happens. So that's great to hear from Warren Buffett. So that's what's happening there. We got Redfin settled. That's kind of like a throwaway piece of news. NAR is talking about some questions about dual agency. We'll get to that next week because we've got John, the owner of Johnny's Pizza here waiting. Very excited for him to come in. Big fan of his business in Bryn Mawr. We'll be right back on Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
With all the red tape when getting a mortgage from a big
whenever August
online
17th
bank.
comes,
At Mortgage America,
would it just be
we
for
have
new
access to
What's up, man? How's it going?
listings?
How you doing? I'm pumped you came in here, man.
I didn't know Mike was your producer.
Oh, you know?
Yeah, we used to work at the bar together.
How small
We
world.
used to
Used
to
Sarah.
work together way back. Yeah,
Hi.
I was just a manager. No,
Pre-approval
Hey,
is
how are
free.
you?
Good, how are you?
How's business?
For
good,
more
it's busy.
information, visit our website
Sold out
at
all the time, man.
mymortgageamerica.com
Yeah.
or
Good
give us a
stuff.
call at
Yeah.
610-439-8000.
So what do you want us to push people to? Like the website? Like what's
The
The Tom Toole Sales Group
What
is
do
the
you want to
number
talk
one
about here?
Remax
You hand
team
check all the
in
pizzas, right?
Pennsylvania with over
Yeah.
165 million in volume
I saw
for
the Chase U review that
2021.
he did too. That was
I'm
pretty
Tom
good.
Toole,
they
and
kinda
our team has
blew us
achieved
off
that
because
kind of
another
success
one.
I didn't even know
by
who
being a
you guys.
great
I live
place to work
in
with
Penn Valley, so I'm
and to
like
work
10 minutes
for.
away, and I was
Yeah.
like,
No one
"Holy
knows
shit, I
greater
need to
Philly
this
better
place."
than
Like,
we do.
this is so.
Real estate, but more
When I brought it to my
importantly,
cousin's
we're
house in
real
college, and they're like,
people.
"This stuff is
We
unbelievable."
hire the
So
best agents
it's,
and we give them all the
catching
tools to
on.
succeed.
Yeah.
Even our
It's
brand
getting
new
there.
agents sell 17
Takes
to
time, man.
24 homes a year because
Yeah,
our team
staffing is
delivers
the
the
biggest
best
problem,
experience
honestly.
in real
Run like a
estate.
small business like
Teams
that.
deliver a better experience than
What do you think
individuals,
about staffing,
and
Sarah?
we're a
Seeing all
top
the real estate
1%
agents
real
coming in and out
estate
of our
team in
company.
the country. We call it
Yeah.
AAA service.
Yeah,
We're
you
your
guys do real
advocate,
estate?
ally,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
advisor.
Everybody wants to be a realtor
Because
nowadays.
this isn't a
Yeah.
transaction.
They
for
try.
us. It's a relationship.
It's got an
If you're
87%
buying or
failure
selling a
rate,
home,
so
call the
I
Tom
know how
Toole
you
Sales
feel.
Group
Oh, I
Remax
have
main
friends that
line at
got their realtor's license and
610-692
a year later not even know, like,
6976
I'm
or
doing
visit
something else.
75% fail in the first year.
They just say it's so
Tom
saturated.
Toole with an
It's
E.com.
Yeah.
For more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more
My daughter
when
likes
you
the
work
Mortal
with Tom
Kombat
Toole.
game you got there.
Have you considered
nice.
I took her in there, she's
real
like,
estate?
"Dad, can I play this game?" I'm like,
You
"Sure."
want control
Yeah, I had to get
over
something
your
so people
income.
can do, by the way.
License or not,
That's old
call us
school, too.
today at 610
Yeah.
692 6976 or visit tomtoole.com.
How do you pronounce your last
One
name? Segley?
Sales Group
Alright.
Remax main
We
line.
went like a couple weeks ago.
All right. Welcome back to Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. But most importantly, we got John Biseglia here, the owner of Johnny's Pizza in Bryn Mawr. You can check out his website. It's johnnyspizzabrynmawr.com. They're at Johnny's Pizza Bryn Mawr on Instagram. This might be my favorite pizza place in the suburbs, and I've lived in the greater Philadelphia for a very long time. Chase U, who's like an Instagram influencer, blew up apparently the site here. But John, just wanted to thank you for coming on first and foremost. Tell us a little bit about the business, how you got started. Because I mean, this is it's one of those things where we're in the age of like pizza reviews and all this stuff. So fill us in. Why should people stop by?
Just stop by. We got good food. It's a good time. I mean, other than that, it's just good food, good time, and yeah.
How did you get started in this? Because I think a lot of people like they have these visions of owning their own restaurant or a pizza shop or something like that, and obviously what you're doing is getting a lot of attention. How did the business start? Like tell us a little bit about that.
So I worked up in New York and Brooklyn for pizza, and I came back home, but I was actually working at a bar in the city for like a year and a half.
Keep going.
Oh, okay. And then I just had to get serious, and like after working in the bar, I was having fun, just having a good time, hanging out with people. I always knew I wanted to open up a pizza shop because that's what my one cousin did, and he was always well off. And I was like, let me get into this. But before I even started, I was like, I had to go up to and work in New York, and like learn up there from one of the best up there.
So where did you work in New York? Was this like the Pizza Institute or something, or is this
Nah,
like the place to go?
It's a good spot. It was called Best Pizza in Williamsburg.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. How long did you work there before you were able to come back down to the Philadelphia area?
Honestly, not long. It's probably up there for like 3 to 4 months. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh wow.
It was short. Yeah.
So then your cousin who owned a pizza shop as well, did he kind of help you with getting yours started?
Yeah, I asked him probably so many questions. He was actually, the first day I opened, his wife was in labor, and I called him. I was like, dude, you gotta just get on the phone, please. Like, you have to help me. I have no idea what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Like, so it was a good help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially I can call him any second. So
Yeah.
cool.
It's always like it's so key. I feel like especially when you're starting something new, to no matter like how big or how small, just when it's to have that person that you can pick up and be like, what should I do right now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He helped me with so many problems. And even to this day, I was actually texting him this morning, and I'm like, dude, like, this is ridiculous. And he's like, welcome to the industry, dude. Get used to it. Yeah.
Where is your cousin's place at? Are you guys like
It's
competing?
it's in Warminster, now
Okay.
Bucks County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. So I watched the Chase U review that he did, which is basically the same thing as it's kind of like Dave Portnoy local, right? Like the Barstool Pizza guys. And you hand check all the pizzas. That has got to be tough, but like, are you that obsessed with putting out a good product? I think that's a really great quality control thing, and I appreciate that as a business owner.
I think it's more the fact that like being so new and like so many people are coming here for the first time. First experience is everything. So like if they go home with like a crappy product, like they're not coming back.
Yeah.
And like if it's my fault, I'm okay with. I can sleep at night. But like if it's somebody else's fault, I'll just be pissed like for so long.
Right.
I'll be like, that's not how I showed you. Yeah.
So how many get pulled? Like, are most of them making it through? Like, yep, good to go, or is there a decent amount that it's like no?
I mean, yeah, it's probably like 95% are fine usually.
Yeah.
I mean, I burn them here
Yeah.
and there sometimes. Just happens.
Yeah.
Got it. So and like I mean I think the you put like some hot honey on the pepperoni. Is that tell us about that? That is like
that's probably my favorite pie.
Mm-hmm.
After eating the food for so long, it ends up tasting like cardboard. But I had the hot honey one day and I just threw it on a pepperoni and it was a game changer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just elevates it.
This is some of the best pizza I've ever had, and it's because you can get it fresh. I love that you got to pick it up. I think it's way better than like because the time value in delivery.
I had DoorDash, but they're just like the worst. They don't care about getting it to the person.
But then by the time you get it, it's like soggy, it's cold. Like I mean, DoorDash. Yeah. I've not. Have you ever not gotten your food from DoorDash? I've definitely that happened to me a couple times.
I think I've always gotten it.
That has happened to me once though. Like a DoorDash, I was picking up like 3 different orders.
Yeah.
And he delivered the wrong order to each house, and it was like the most stressful Friday night I probably ever had.
It's not fun. So you hand check all the pizzas. Talk to us about the cheesesteak because I think the cheesesteak is like the pizza's amazing. This is one of the best cheesesteaks I've ever had too, and it's like packed with meat.
Yeah,
it's huge. I didn't eat all day when we went in there with the team. I had like a yogurt for lunch and like a smoothie because I wanted to be able to handle it. So how do you come up with the recipe? How do you cook it? Don't give us all the secrets, obviously.
So the cheesesteak, it just took a life of its own, especially after the Chase U video.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was going to happen, but I've always been a cook, but I never thought it was that hard to make a good cheesesteak. And I just looked at what like Angelo's does, and I was like, all right, it can't be that hard to like see what they do, and then just like try to be as good as them. And that was the whole idea. That was it. And then it just took its own life.
How long did it take you to find the perfect dough recipe?
I would say trial and error, especially making pizza at home. And then it was more so like when I went to New York, I was making dough up there.
Yeah.
I saw what they did and I was like, this is like pretty spot on to what I do at home.
Yeah.
Like, I was on the right path, but that just like confirmed that like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Well, and what happens a lot of times, I think there's a lot of like testing, right? Like you probably had to test it. How many times did you test these recipes before you felt good, like really putting it out and you knocked it out?
I'm still testing.
I love it.
I'm changing stuff every week. Yeah.
So what's the best way to order? Because you guys sell out like every time it's like you gotta wait like 5 hours for pizza, which is awesome. Like I'm very excited for you guys. She used to live down the street from Angelo's, so it sounds like a very similar thing.
Right.
Like
in a way, weekends are tough. By like 4 o'clock on the Friday nights, we sell out of all of our time slots for the night. So like I'll post like sold out on Instagram, which I actually hate doing because it like scares people away and they're just like go screw that guy. But we just run out of. Our oven can only do so much capacity per like 15 minutes, so you don't want to overwork it and then like the product comes out bad.
So you could order like in the morning for a time slot later on in the day.
So like 11 o'clock the phone's like off the hook and like the first call will probably be like, can I order for 5 o'clock? And I'm like, sure. And then it just fills up from there.
Gotcha.
And we go till 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that like a computer system that you have for like lining up who's getting what, or do you have like a board?
The tickets just print and I just paste them on the wall and I just hopefully they don't fall. Sometimes they do fall and I'll lose them like 7 o'clock. Somebody will walk in and be like, here for Carol. And I'm like, I don't have a Carol.
Oh no.
And then I'll find it on the ground later. I'm like, there it is. Yeah.
Sorry, Carol. That'd be tough. I'd be very disappointed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'll just be like, I'm throwing it in right now. Give me some time.
So, and you guys can dine in there, and I mean, you get a lot of like college kids coming in. I mean, I've been in there. I've seen most of it. It's like all sorts of people coming from all over the place.
Yeah, I really don't get a lot of college kids at all. It's probably like 3% of the business.
That's good.
When they come in, it's cool. They're nice. But it's mostly just families around the area, which is good.
So it's Johnny'sPizzaBrynMawr.com. You can follow him on Instagram at Johnny's Pizza Bryn Mawr. So what I mean, stuff we're not talking about. We're talking about the pizza. We're talking about the cheesesteak. Like someone's coming there for the first time. What do they need to eat? Like, do you need to? I'm a big believer you got to eat the pizza right when it comes out of the oven.
I do too. My biggest frustration is like when somebody's first time, they're like, I've heard great things, but like their pie's been sitting on top of the oven in a box for like 35 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, this is probably gonna suck then.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't, by the way. We've had it in the box, so.
I think it's just a pet peeve of mine. I'm like, because I know it's just way better when I put it on a tray and you eat it here.
Yeah.
It's so different. Yeah.
So what are some of the ingredients you use? Because I mean, you have a little bit of a different style than I think. It's not like a round pizza or anything like that. Tell us about how you make the pies.
What do you mean?
What you can like what kind of cheese? Like I know you put some different like.
Yeah, we only use fresh mozzarella, which is different than most places. Just use like the kind of like a string cheesy taste.
Oh wow.
So we only use fresh, which is like a lot more money, but it works out. You get a way better product. And then the flour is like a blend of like Italian flour and then just regular like bread flour. So it's not flour that most pizza shops are using. And then the tomatoes are from California.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
How many like for the dough, do you have to start like, so Friday's dough, what day does that like start being made? Or is it Friday?
Wednesday. Typically.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how far in advance you got to source these ingredients? I mean, this sounds pretty intense.
The food provider carries most of them. I have like 3 different food providers, but you get each stuff from different ones.
Yeah.
So what should people know if they're coming like what what should they know about Johnny's, and maybe what did you not know opening a restaurant up like this? Because I'm sure there's, I mean, we're all business owners here, and it's like I know like Sarah and I both been like, I never expected this to happen in our line of work. So I'm sure there's a lot of things you've kind of run into.
I mean, I was just telling you before we got on, staffing is an issue, obviously. Like, you'll train somebody, and you think you're good, and I'm like, all right, you're paying them well, and giving them all the hours they ask for, and then bang, they could just be like, oh, I'm out of here, and you're just like, damn.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, that's what happens. Equipment can break every single day. I get my oven fixed like all the time. It's so frustrating to come in and be like, oh, it's not working today.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there's always a curveball every day. Like, it's something new every day.
That's the life of a business owner right there. It sounds a lot like real estate, even though it's totally different. But I mean, you're dealing with people, you're providing them a service, and it's things go wrong, right?
Yeah, it's probably like you when you show somebody like 15 different houses, and you're like, just pick one, right? Like,
Sarah, do you ever feel that way? I've never felt that way in my entire life. I don't know about you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Are you getting any like local celebrities coming in? I mean, I feel like this is the place is starting. I mean, it's that Chase U thing was pretty good. I mean, he's pretty good. I didn't know what to expect, and it just like popped up on my Instagram feed one day.
Yeah, had a few athletes come in. Actually, the most recent guy, the most consistent athlete so far is Matt Hennessy. He signed with the Eagles this past summer. Nice guy, yeah. But he's come in a few times.
It's good. Well, hopefully we can get more people coming into Johnny. So,
yeah, for sure.
What are the hours? What do you guys are closed Mondays? I think is what it is.
Closed on Mondays, then 11 to 9 Tuesday through Sunday.
Nice, very cool. So you have this journey of like going up to Brooklyn, learning all this. Like, what are some of the things you think you're going to start testing next? Like, I mean, do you have any like ideas of like, are you planning on expanding it all? Like, tell me a little bit more about what the future looks like, because
my personal plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do. I always said to myself like 3 pizza shops, and then either after this was either like coffee and bagels, or like a fancier spot with like wine and like wood fire pizza and like homemade pastas. Just because a lot of chefs, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a competitive thing.
Yeah.
I want to prove to these people that, like, no, I can do what you're doing too. Like,
Yeah.
I can do more than just pizza. Yeah.
Do you like the show The Bear?
I've never seen it, actually. Yeah. I don't watch TV. I have no time. I fall asleep as soon as I get home.
That's valid.
Yeah.
Restaurant hours are tough. I mean, just because you close at 9, that doesn't mean you're going home at 9, right? Like, I mean.
No, I don't usually get home till like 10:30.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
It's tough. So, I mean, and I think, like, the stuff you're talking about, I mean, where you're located, I think the main line is, like, this area where there could be a lot better restaurants there for the people that live around there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, because Sarah lives in Wayne, I'm in Penn Valley, and it's like, I'm excited to see stuff like this start opening up here, because this wasn't here 10 years ago. There wasn't a lot of places like that. You had, like, Ryan's up the street, like, I mean, so I think there's a huge need for that if you're able to open those additional spots up along the main line.
Yeah, I'm not even familiar with the main line until I got out here. I'm from Bucks County, so like I just came across a pizza shop that was for sale. Like, the tenants were just getting out, and I was like, all right, I'll take it over. Why not?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you how the process went for picking the location. So
it was kind of like how people look at houses. Like, I was just sick and tired of looking at all these like rundown restaurants and pizza shops, and I was like, I just got to pick one. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then I just picked that one. I was like, all right. Everybody talks about the main line. I'm like, can't be that bad. Then just did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
So you're leasing? Nice. Did you have to enter it? Was that like a complicated process for entering into, or was everything pretty straightforward? I guess with it
was pretty
having
quick
been
because it was like really run down and like nobody wanted to take it over.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, I'm the sucker that got this, right? Like, they finally let somebody in here.
Yeah.
So
I think the location's smart because there's parking is close, right? Now that's a big problem on Lancaster Ave, but usually when I've been there, it's like you can park over in that lot over by
there's a few lots.
Like there's enough there that it's not, but you also get Lancaster Avenue frontage, which is usually the problem with like businesses. You'll see like real estate offices open along. It's horrible because there's no parking. But with you guys, I think it's actually a pretty smart location.
Yeah, it works. It's not bad.
Seems like it's doing well. So how many pies do you make in a night? Like what's the number?
So Fridays, Saturdays, probably like right around borderline like 200 like for the day, and then the weekdays are probably like around 100, like 80 to 100. So
that's incredible.
How many pizzas does the oven fit in at a time?
About 5.
Okay.
So you can't do a lot at once.
Right.
That's the main problem. Actually, I had an oven guy. He was measuring it out today. Getting a new oven, hopefully in 4 weeks. So I'm hanging on the dear life with like the broken oven I have.
Right.
But we'll get through.
That's tough. I mean, well, and you're in an old building too, so it's like it's a game of inches. It's like, what's the biggest one I can fit in there? And
yeah, literally. He was like, I don't know what we can get in here, man. He's like, without taking down this counter and like blowing the door open. I was like, well, we're just gonna have to get something in here.
Yeah.
Make it work, pal.
Yeah.
Let's go. So on the menu they got, and you got a lot of special pizzas. I haven't tried this stuff. You got a white square pizza. My daughter liked that one.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo chicken pizza. Buffalo chicken is like, I mean, people love that stuff. So you got a meat lovers, barbecue chicken, square veggie. Do you sell more of the square or the round pies? Because you got a couple round pies here as well.
Like 60-40 squares.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Stromboli, the cheesesteaks. You got a sausage and peppers and onions, which sounds fantastic. The cheesesteak egg rolls. Wings. Do you sell a lot of wings? I didn't even know you guys sold one.
They're actually getting really popular. They're probably my favorite thing on the menu.
Wow.
We hand bread them and bake them in the oven. Yeah.
Baked wings are so much better than when they deep fry them. That is very true. I think I know what we're getting this weekend for dinner here. This is good. Pizza fries, mozzarella sticks. Looks like a classic kind of menu here. And I mean, obviously, you got even a couple salads for the people that are staying healthy. I wouldn't recommend. I would go with the pizza or the cheesesteak though. That's what you get. Apparently, the wings.
I want to get rid of salad so bad, but I have so many like moms that come in. They're just like, need the salad, and I'm like, I can't get.
Let me tell you something about those moms. They're probably eating pizza and everything else when they get home. It's like I'll just have one slice. Like does that ever happen at your house? Like, oh, I'll get a salad, or I'm just going for the pizza. I know it happens at ours.
No, I'm always just pushing for the pizza. I feel like Eric's the one that's like, we should really get like a salad in the mix.
You told me this actually on the phone. Like, yeah, Eric likes getting like the hummus meal, and I'm into something else.
Yeah.
All right, so it's Johnny's Pizza, BrynMawr.com. Must try if you're even if you're in the area and you got some time. And you guys can order online, or do you got to call in? What's the best way to do it?
Online has been turned off for like
probably
the past 4 months. Just call in or walk in. Yeah.
610-525-4811 is the number there. Again, 610-525-4811. Johnny's Pizza, BrynMawr.com. John, thanks for coming on, man. Yeah. Super excited for the success of your business.
Thank you.
And that's it for this week's episode of Tool Time Real Estate Radio. You want to follow Sarah? She's at Ty_TyTime on Instagram. You can follow me at TomToole3RD. If you like what you heard, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell for notifications, and you can schedule a call with our team with the link in the comments. See you next week on WWDB 860 AM. That was awesome, man. So we'll get this thing recorded. We'll send it to you. You can do whatever. Like, if you want
okay, cool.
Put it on your website.
Yeah.
We'll do some Instagram. Like, if you want to do like a collab on Instagram and stuff, we can do that.
Sure.
I'll just shoot you a message. I'm definitely coming back to those wings. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, not bad.
I like boneless wings, especially if you have like people over, so you're not getting all the shit all over your face.
Yeah, me too, actually. I'm a messy eater.
It's a little more couth way to eat. So.